Okay, it is a little bit after 6 o'clock here on Tuesday, October the 29th, 2019. Call to order our city council meeting. Ask that we would all rise. We have in attendance with us this evening from Elm Street Baptist Church, Pastor Charlie Allen, and we would invite him to lead us in invocation.
Let's pray. Father, as we come before you tonight, we thank you for the blessing of this day, for your love and touch upon us in each and every day that we walk. We thank you for the life that you give us through Jesus Christ, life everlasting. We thank you for the opportunity and the blessing you provide us to live in a nation as we have. Lord, we thank you for these who serve this community. We ask you to bless them in the work that they do. Father, let what they do always be in the best and better interest of Murphysboro. Thank you for all the city servants here. Go with us now. We're going to keep our eyes on you and look for good things to come. Have your way tonight. This in the name of Jesus we ask it all. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Charlie. Clerk Consigliere, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Hughes. Here. Alderman Curry Whitson. Alderman Brown. Alderman Pearson.
Here.
Alderman McComb.
Here.
Alderman Irvis.
Here.
Alderman Bratton.
Here.
Alderman Bastian. Alderman Campos. Here. Alderman Pittman.
Here.
Mayor Stevens.
Here. All right, thank you everyone for your attendance this evening. We will go right into our agenda items tonight. We have first the consideration of council minutes from October the 8th, 2019. I'd entertain any amendments or questions on the minutes at this time. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes. So moved. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Now the consideration of the accounts payable registers. I believe we have one register, list 818. I'd entertain questions concerning the bills at this time. Alderman Hughes.
I only have a couple on page 2. The agritary and leasing bill, was that land survey?
It was, I believe it was land surveying in regard to the Union Pacific issues.
Is that the Tuttle issue or?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And the other one. As Tim this one, on page 3, the co-equipment, what's the joystick? You're playing games down there, aren't you?
Yeah, mine broke.
Yeah, I thought so, and
That is for
I looked at it and laughed, but I thought you would be
yeah,
able
the
to
back,
answer.
yeah, the back of the truck has a joystick toggle switch on the front of it that controls the boom.
Oh,
And
okay.
it wore out and it was sticking, so we had to replace that.
Thank you for your information, and I just
That was
wondered if you were winning the game or, on page 11, for the closeout dinner, did you get enough donations to cover that whole thing?
All but $75.
That's wonderful, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, we got couple of corporate sponsors, and then we sold enough raffle tickets to come within $75 of the entire cost.
That's wonderful, thank you, that's all I have there.
All right, Mr. McComb.
Yeah, well, on page 7, I would like Old Hart Lions Lawn Care 2 mowings up, so they get out there and you get the grass straightened out, that been there long enough, the dirt's fall on and the grass has grown over, to get them leveled out, because this will probably gonna be all of their money coming this year, but they don't look going to be doing any more mowing out there. I went out and weeded Mr. Ford's grave. His granddaughter's been up several times and sending me pictures of it, so I went out and took care of that, filled in a hole. I've got topsoil out there for them to put in these holes, but they're not doing that work. And they have really, around the cemetery, the stones, where they go around them so fast, they're just a spot You can see where the tire is, slap the tire up and spin around it. And there's, I got on them before they ever started about that. They said, well, we fired that guy, but it's still going on. You know, I mean,
They rehired him the next week.
and, but I'd like to hold that up, maybe to get his attention to, we've got his attention before when we hold up a month to get some stuff done, but, and I invite anybody to go out there and drive through the cemetery and you'll see the holes and the graves that have not. Russ Wright's grave, I don't think it's ever been smoothed out, and there's several of them out there that they're just mowing over the hump. And it's in their contract.
I have no problem with holding those until we get some rectification on those issues.
I appreciate that, that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Bratton?
Okay, let's back up to page 2. I'm not questioning the amount, but on Boss Truck Service, is there any way that we can find out how much ground they actually get? Because we've got one for this amount, we got one for 1,700, we got one for 300 in here also.
These are the easement things.
Pardon?
These are the easement things.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, it would be easy to pull up those parcel numbers on the county website and be able to determine.
No, don't you have that on your, on those reports that we approved?
Yes.
Yeah, all the amount is on all those.
It specifies a breakdown
Yes.
of exactly what is being purchased from them, what they're receiving for reduced value, and the remainder of the land, so there's a breakdown on
So,
the
so
appraisal
we have
report.
that,
Yeah.
If you wanna stop up at the office tomorrow, I'll be happy to show that to you.
okay? I mean, that seems like an awful lot of money. I don't know if a couple retained coupons there, and it's gonna help them as much, if not more so than anybody out there on 7th Street, if there's no question in it. Yeah, and then on page 4, we got another one, that's for 1,300, and the other one's for 300, that's the reason I was questioning that.
There are like 37 parcels and they'll all be different amounts.
Just depends how much frontage, basically.
Right.
Okay, on page 9, key equipment and supply for a long dirt shoe, scraper, and brake.
That's the rubber shoes that scrape the ground on the bottom of the sweeper.
Okay, okay. And on that same page, magnet forensic, $2,000. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, that's for an investigative software program for investigations.
Investigations, okay. Okay, we got that one answered. Oh, I see another thing now. Page 15, West Shore Services for a blower, $400.
I believe that's a blower for one of the sirens
Yeah, so it depends.
for emergency management.
That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, if there's no other questions, entertain a motion.
I do,
Oh, Ms.
Sorry.
Campbell, excuse me.
yeah. There is on page 9, we have Mark Berger Jeep repair for $105.95.
Well, Mark Berger is,
That's for Jim's.
That's the Jeep at the wastewater treatment plant.
Oh, okay. Thank you. This one is the city, I got that one, but there is one more.
would that repair bill had normally been listed as something else on the Jeep?
When it's doing business as, it's listed under their name.
Okay, all right.
Hum's truck and hauling.
It's Hum's Garage,
Yeah.
Right.
right? Okay.
Okay, just one last one. There is a $50 parking meter in St. Louis in page 14. Our meter, that's what it says, so
$50.
Vanderbilt, yep,
That's it's an R meter for a lift station,
okay,
for a pump.
okay. It's not a parking there, thank you.
It's not a parking meter.
Oh, $50 parking meter. Okay.
That might be cheap in San Luis for parking.
I have seen that in Chicago.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. McCollum to pay the bills. I assume that is
Second.
without the payment to Heartland Lawn Care. And we have a motion from Ms. Campos. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, that takes us into our regular committee and commission reports. And we'll go to Budget and Finance Chair by Mr. W.J. Pittman.
Thank you, Mayor. We have no items under old business. Under new business, we have the presentation of financial statements by Scott Evans, Budget Officer. Mr. Evans.
Thank you, WJ. Okay, you should all have the reports in front of you, so I'll just highlight those. So these are, the first set is as of September 30th. It's the citywide balance sheet showing all the city's assets and liabilities that we book on the city's books. And as of September 30th, total citywide assets were $25,655,000 and change. Oh, and that cut off there too. Yeah, look at that. Let me get to my copy. It doesn't have all the digits on that copy there. Well, yeah. Well, actually, it's rounded near a dollar, but anyway. Okay, so we owed $15,199,000 in liabilities as of that date, which is basically a month ago. And then the part that we own, the equity in all these funds, is $10,457,000, rounding. And I just brought in the December one on the next page just for comparison purposes. So we're actually really close, and we're only like $200,000 difference from where we were in December as far as citywide. And of course, you can see each individual fund by itself. I'm not going to go through all those. Obviously, we'd be here all night with that. But so that's just for you to look at to tell us where we were at on that day. The third page is the citywide income statement, profit and loss, whatever you want to call it. And of course, that's also presented by fund. And so as you can see across the bottom there are the different, positive numbers, of course, are going to be surpluses or net incomes. Negative numbers are going to be deficits for those funds for the 9 months. So we do have at this point a surplus in the general fund of $398,000. We do have a deficit for the first 9 months in the hotel motel fund, but again, a lot of that was for the money chipped in for the TIF district and the placement. I can't think of the name of that other report that we're doing, but the McClure thing, yeah. So that's a lot of that came out of that. So that was more than what the revenues have brought in so far. So I doubt by the end of the year that they'll be break even. They'll probably still show a deficit, but they had the reserves to draw from. So at the beginning of the year, so that they still have monies there. And then of course the big one, of course, is the water sewer. We're still running short in that. We're about $167,000 and a deficit through the 9 months in that. And again, you can kind of tie that back to that $140,000 bill that we didn't expect down at the hotel site. You take that away, and we're real close to break even. So we'll see how that all plays out. But at the moment, that's where we're at. So citywide, if you squash them all together in one big pot, it's a positive surplus of $236,000 for the first 9 months. Okay, next one, and this just is some of the same information on the next page that you've seen in the balance sheet, but it's more isolated. So here's our cash. So as of September 30th, all the city's cash funds put together, including regular cash, money markets, and CDs, is $6,386,000, and that's a little bit up from the previous month, not much. So that's just gives you a snapshot of where the cash is right now. The next report is, of course, the sales tax report. Now, of course, those reports I just gave you were through September. This one is through October because we already have the vouchered sales taxes and have for several weeks for October. So, had another good month, $280,117 between home rule and sales tax, about $3,000 or $4,000 more than this time last year, and certainly above the monthly average for this month across the years. So, and if you project that out, you know, it's within, I think, $10,000 or $15,000 of what we got last year. It's real close, real close. So, and the next page, of course, is the income tax. Had a real good month there too. 84,000 we got, which is yeah, the most we've gotten in an October allotment for the last 7 or 8 years. So that's nice to see. So I think we probably will hit over budget on this line when it's all said and done, but we can't tell for sure until we get closer to the end. But so that's not been a disappointment in that line at all this year. So that's kind of nice. And while I'm thinking about it, a few months ago I told you that with the new fuel tax that the state imposed, some portion of that was going to trickle back to us. And I think we got our first allotment this month because the motor fuel tax allotment was around $8,000 more than it had been the previous month. So that's, you're talking $96,000 in a year's time. That's very helpful. So hopefully that will continue. We'll monitor that. Okay. General fund spending on the next page. So through 9 months, general fund has spent $3,648,000. For the same period, we have budgeted $3,852,000. So we're $203,000 under budget in our spending through the 9 months. Our actual revenues received, now that we have gotten, yeah, I think we did get an allotment of property taxes in September. So we received $4,046,000 of revenue for the first 9 months. We budgeted 3.8, so we're actually over budget in our revenue, which is, you put those factors together, which is why, we have a surplus at the moment, so. All right. And then, of course, we list that by fund too, so, some funds are over, some funds are under, but you can see the overs and unders there. So if there's any specific questions about that, I can try to answer those. Okay, on healthcare. So through 9 months, general fund has spent $387,451 on healthcare and $87,123 in the water fund. And if you project that out another 3 months, especially given the fact that we didn't get creamed on an increase on the new policy we'll have, we should be under budget in those 2 lines, which is good because that's, as I've said many times, after salaries, this is our biggest expense. So you're talking almost $700,000 of money in a year's time there, so it's quite a significant area. So I think we're good. We're doing really good there. And the salaries. So if you turn forward a page or 2, so citywide salaries through September, we were under budget by $4,000 in all the categories combined through September, for the month of September. And then year to date, we are under budget by $11,000. So that's, and of course, there again, you see each department there. So any questions on those, I can answer those hopefully. Now, the last 2 reports, I haven't put on here in quite a while, but just an update of where we are with our various debts. So, obviously, okay, so the street sweeper loan is gone. We own that free and clear now. The backhoe still has a $16,286 balance. That'll be paid off in a year or less. And I filled a line of credit in there just because to remind you we still do have that available if we need to tap into that in an emergency situation. So it's on there, but there, of course, there's no dollars there because we haven't borrowed against it. And then, of course, the new thing is the dump truck loan. We just got that loan about a month ago, so,
Got a ball game going on out there?
hecklers, in the crowd there. So yeah, so that, at the end of the month, that was still 48,120. Payment's been made since then, I believe, so it's gonna be less now, but, the outside debts at the general fund owes is $64,406 at the end of September. And then, of course, the next page is where the biggies still exist. We still, at the time of the September 30th cutoff on this report, we still owed $1,172,000 to EPA on the water line replacement on Walnut Street, and $13,039,000 on the sewer plant. Now, if you'll notice, the rather large disbursement that was on the AP report for $506,000 is the semi-annual payment we just are making, or I guess it will be made very soon. Yeah, it's due like the 8th of November, so that'll go down. So, and then I'll update these, at year end, and it'll be reflected in a lower balance on those two things. So, they're still large, but they're definitely a lot smaller than they used to be. So, and that's what I have for reports.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Anybody?
I have a question on the, cemetery. I gotta find it. Well, yeah. Here we go. Anyway, I think it was like 17,000 some odd dollars in there.
Yeah, that's what we have in the cemetery trust fund, right?
So it's in a trust fund?
Yeah, it's called trust fund, but it's just a checking account.
Okay, so we're not drawing any interest on any of that?
Well, I mean, probably 0.25% maybe. But this is one typically we will have some CDs in too. It just so happens they recently cashed in, so we'll probably be reinvesting some of that money in some CDs shortly.
Okay, that was my question.
Not that that's gonna get us a lot more money, but it's certainly better than 0.1% or whatever it's getting now, so. We try to do those, so we're not doing that like every week or something. We try to wait until we have, several that need to be purchased at one time and kind of do it in a batch, because, Sandra has to run around all over the place and get signatures and set these up, so there's some work involved when buying and selling these CDs.
Okay.
So, but yeah, but that is on our to-do list.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes, sir.
The other item under new business is consideration of eliminating the due to and due from balances in Fund 35.
Yes, that's me again.
See you all soon.
Okay, so, well, if you go back to the first page of the report I just showed you, the citywide balance sheet, you'll see about 2/3 of the way over there is a Smizer Trust Fund 35. And that's been there for years and years and years. And so it shows a balance due to other city funds of $83,629. What that stems from is when the town center park was built. This actually represents money that we forwarded to contractors or, whatever to get the job done that was never reimbursed by Smizer. And so it stays on the books as if it's a real, and of course on the other side of that transaction, in general fund we have a due from, and also on vendor claims we have a due from. So it's simply just kind of IOUs between funds. And so what we're proposing is that we just formally, write those off so that we can cancel on both sets of funds, because we're not gonna collect that money, we're not gonna ask for that money, I'm pretty safe to assume, right? So, it's been there for 10 years, almost.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason for us to, go to the Smizer Trust Fund and pursue that. They continue to be good to the city, and they have provided, for many things to be accomplished we wouldn't have probably been able to do otherwise since that time.
So all we would be doing here is, no actual cash is gonna change hands, nothing like that, because there is no checking account with that fund anymore. It's just simply some IOUs between funds that we're just asking you to allow us to zero that out and clean it up and not have to.
It's a housekeeping.
It's a housekeeping thing, yeah.
Total equities would stay
But
the
still
same. You
keep-
just
Yeah,
need reducing
absolutely.
liability and reducing an
Yep,
asset.
yep.
Yeah.
But still keep the fund open.
Well, we would make it inactive, but I mean, we wouldn't like, you know, we could use it again some point if we needed to for some reason, sure.
I think they'll probably donate next year too.
Well,
You
and,
have to have the fund for the donation. though.
Oh,
yeah, you know, what we've been doing in the last several years is when they give us money for a specific reason, we run it through grants received on the general fund, and then it goes out an account that we call, you know, grant expenditures. So it's all kind of being accounted for very easily in the general fund, so I'm not sure we really need a separate fund anymore.
Okay.
You know, again, we could just inactivate it, and then if there was a reason down the road to reactivate Fund 35, it'd just be a push of a button. You know, there wouldn't be any dollars in it, it'd just be, you know, there, so.
And
So
that fund was set up for that specific project.
It really was. I think it was actually set up for the first Smizer Park, and then it was still on the books when the second one came around, so it was just, you know, it was just used for that purpose.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion, we have a second.
second.
A motion is second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. But that's the only other item. Scott, you got
Public comment, please.
something? Yes.
One more thing. So Sandra and I have been working on getting the beginnings of the 2020 budget together. And we have appointments set up with the department heads next week. And so what we would like to do is to be able to present to you at the next regular council meeting the first draft that we come up with. And they were also proposing that maybe on the 14th, which is the Thursday after next meeting, that we have our first meeting that just is dedicated to hashing out the budget numbers. And so we just want to see if that's cool with you guys and if that's what we want to do it that way.
Is there anybody that does not work for?
At this point, I don't know. As far as I know, it's all right.
Actually, let's just plan on that then.
Okay, so yeah, we'll plan on having that presented to you that night, and we won't talk about that on the 12th, we'll just pass it out, and then you can study it for a couple of days, and then
And then on the 14th at 10:30.
on the 14th, then we'll be ready to discuss it and whatever.
Shred the budget.
All right, do we have any public comment under budget and finance? No public comment, we can move out of budget and finance.
Thank you very much, WJ. That takes us to Building and Grounds, chaired by Gary McComb. Gary?
Thank you, Mayor. There's no old business, the new business, and I had this put on there because they're putting the little blocks around the planter up there, and they had them stuck up above the sidewalk quite a ways out toward Main Street. And if they're gonna put those in, they gotta get them down flat with the existing curb and the sidewalk, or it's a tripping hazard. It's just about the distance. If somebody trips over one, they'll fall head up and right into that planter. I just noticed that, looked like they're trying to work on it today, but the only way they're gonna get them down flat, I think, is saw along the sidewalk. We're gonna set the form, that concrete comes out from under, they don't cut that down. I had to do it some out front to put the old brick in around that out there. That's gonna have to be done if they're gonna put them in. I know they're not working for the city, they're working from Main Street. But if there was a lawsuit, it's not gonna be Main Street, it'll be the city that gets sued. And if he puts them in, he's either gonna have to get them down flat with the sidewalk and the curb around there. Or in my opinion, to not put them in. I mean, that's, look at it, mayor goes in and out, but a lot of people walk across that way. I'm just trying to save us a lawsuit. Go ahead, Dan.
I'll make a motion, we notify whoever's doing that, take a flush like you said.
I think
Take
it's,
'em out. Huh?
I think it's the shrub guy.
Is it? Well, I don't know who it is.
They
Doesn't
were
matter.
up there working, the blocks are actually all pulled out and set up on the sidewalk
And the curb.
there as I left the office this morning.
I will stop by and tell them, you know, if they're gonna do it, get them flat.
Yeah, you've got my permission to pursue that. And
I just, I didn't wanna take that on myself without bringing it in front of council and ruffling somebody's feathers on it, you know. That's right.
Understood. All right,
Is there, anything else in the building grounds under new business? Any public comment? Make a motion, come on out.
thank you, Mr. McComb. That takes us to community relations chaired by John Irvis. John?
Thank you, Mayor. There's no old business and new business, apparently we have Halloween this year.
Once again.
Still.
Trick or treating 5 to 8, which is the standard time.
There's been some people contacting the office wanting to know if we're gonna move it or something, but the weather forecast says there's not gonna be rain Thursday evening. It's probably gonna be cool, but the rain is supposed to hold out. And I know that a number of churches have trunk or treat events that evening, so certainly wanna make sure that we don't confuse the matter by changing what we're doing, because sometimes they follow what we do, so.
So we don't really need a motion, do we?
I don't think so, it was just a,
Information, that's what it always, generally always is unless there's some.
last year we moved it because of inclement weather, but
All right.
No,
Go
something is
down,
stormy.
yes.
We did see the team right away,
Okay.
and, they seemed very, very, very appreciative. It was before the DuPoint game, and thank you for those of you that helped me, and thank you for those of you that donated money. I will tally that up, and if you get money back, I'll bring it back at next, meeting.
Yeah.
I did last year, got 87 cents back last year.
Do you have a
Everybody else got $4.
I think so. If not, I'll get up somebody else, I'll get somebody.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Barb. Any public comment? Glad there was a team defeat this year.
Yes.
Good team at that.
I tell you what, all those kids were very, very polite, very thankful, and all the coaches, they're one part of it, I almost thought they had as many coaches as they did players, but
I know,
anyway.
I felt that too. But it always makes you feel so good because those kids are very, very appreciative. It
Yes.
seems like they said thank you over and over and over.
Even when they come for seconds.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yes.
Kickoff is at 4 o'clock at Bethalto on Saturday.
Yeah, they didn't get hooked on that seating.
Well, yeah, and that's true. Maybe we ought to pass a resolution in protest of a football seat, but probably not, probably not. Anyway, all right, is that everything we got?
Any other public comment? Come out of community relations.
All right, that takes us to public improvement, chaired by Mr. Mike Bastian, in his absence this evening. I'll handle these items. First up, the Old Depot. I've had some good conversations with the Schaldemoses about that property, and I have no reason to believe that there's gonna be some improvements made there in the near future. And this time I want to be sure I say the right thing, and that's just that I'm talking to people involved with that project, and not just necessarily Martin. And so I think that there's some family members and things that are helping to make facilitate some progress there. So happy for that. I don't really have any information on these others. Leandra, do you have things to share with us regarding the other items here?
Yes, North 17th, Mr. Beckman is still working on it. I talked to Mr. Cripps, and he is still hauling some scrap, and 902 and 908 Locust Street is still the same. I didn't get any new information on that whatsoever.
All right, I appreciate Mr. Beckman continuing to work there. I wonder if we could request that, there be some slats put in that chain link fence there or something, just to you know, 17th Street obviously gets a lot of traffic, and, you know, having something that would just block the eye from that ongoing work and the debris and stuff in there would be helpful. I don't have any other comments on these other properties at this time, Mr. Bratton.
South 14th Street, Martin's working out of town, and after all that rain we got, he just could not move any dirt. He works in St. Louis 5 days a week, and Saturday, I mean, it would have been mud.
Yeah, it rained all day.
Looks better than it has in a long time.
Oh, it sure does.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
But
a lot better.
we're not done with it yet. In fact, one of the family members assured me that it was gonna get done. It wasn't Martin. So, I feel better about it too. Hopefully, we got winter.
Yeah. It's so much better than the rest.
Hey, do we have any update on the Gillenberg
Uh,
building?
Yeah, I know.
I believe we have that item on for discussion under public safety at our,
Oh, okay, never mind then.
we can talk about it then.
Okay, thank you.
All right, that's all of the old business. We have no new business. Is there any public comment regarding public improvement? All right, we'll come out of public improvement and go to public works. Chairman, Mr. Dan Bratton. Dan?
No, we have nothing under old business. Under the new business, consideration of the final payment for the 20th Street Sewer Replacement Project. And the portion that was damaged under construction has been held out, so that, I think, Gary got a hold of, someone to do that, and that amount was held out, so we can pay it, so. Do I have any comments from the council or a motion?
You've already paid it.
We've already paid it under the accounts payable, so.
We have?
It was on the table, we just.
Okay, all right, well, we paid a lot of things and then we're going on later, but that's okay. All right, any public comment? If not, we'll come out of public work.
Thank you very much. That takes the public safety chair by Alderman Russell Brown. Russell?
On old business, discussion regarding the Gillenberg property.
I spoke with Joey Summers just before the meeting. He has selected a contractor and plans to, he said that if it was up to him and his contractor, it'd be down definitely by the end of the year. However, the problem will be with the county deciding how they want to proceed with shoring up their building and giving the go-ahead, their insurance company giving the go-ahead to the contractor. So he is ready to move forward with it as soon as possible, and he's dealing with the county as far as the Willis building and how they want to proceed. So
There is a basement under that building in there, chief.
which one under
The
the?
one that the roof fell in on.
I do not know for sure. I think there is a partial basement. Yes.
Because there was a cold chute when we.
Yeah,
poured that
there
concrete
is
there.
that. So
Yeah.
that indicates that there would be something there. I've not been in there myself.
I have one thing to add on the Gillenberg property. We were contacted by Allison Muller, who is an assistant state's attorney, who indicated in, I guess, their insurance company dealing with Gillenberg's insurance company, that at some point they were contemplating doing a demand to, in regards to the Gillenberg property regarding a demand that something be done to demolish that property. In order for the county to move forward with any kind of demolition action, if they were going to, I believe their discussions now are to do something to try to get things moving faster in the insurance companies dealing with one another. Before the county could move forward with a demolition action on their own, since that is within the city, they would have to request the city council to approve the county moving forward with that action. But just to let you know, that's something that if things do not proceed the way they want them to, they could be coming to the city council to ask for that request that the city council gives the okay to the county to move forward with that type of action.
Is that a specific resolution that they would want us to vote on, or would a sort of generic action by the council suffice?
I believe, I don't know under the procedure it's set forth by statute, I'm not sure if it would take a resolution or if at that time it would just take an affirmative vote by the city council saying, yes, we give the county permission to move forward, just having a motion in a matter of minutes.
I mean, and as far as that goes, I don't know if they're really requesting it yet, but.
They haven't requested it yet. That's
Okay.
just a possible future action. If things do stall and they have to use what they can to push the matter forward.
Well, it doesn't cost us anything.
No.
And so, in a sense, I wouldn't see any reason why we wouldn't wanna do it, but then no reason to go ahead and put it on an agenda if they haven't requested it either, I suppose. Okay.
Richard, is she indicating that they want to demolish the Willis building then and not try to save it?
No, she doesn't know.
Okay,
I asked her that question, and they don't know at this point.
okay, all right, so they're gonna
Yes.
see how the Gillenberg part goes. There's gonna have to be some shoring done inside so if they wanna try to save
Correct.
it, so.
She had just indicated that their insurance had approached them with that as a possible action for them to move the matter forward.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
That's all the old business, and the new business. Discuss regarding new parking over Burger Drive and Santa Cruz.
Well, we discussed this at the last meeting. I believe Ms. Campos
Yeah.
had discussed it during council member requests. And of course, ultimately, if we want to take action on this, we've got to pick a side or both sides or not do anything at all. And so I don't know what, if any of the council members have something additional they want to lead off the conversation here with.
Chief, did you have a chance to go both,
Yeah, I was
Chief?
gonna say
To
that she's
check?
overlooking it.
Yeah, I looked at it and it looks, you know, to me, wide enough to be the way it is. I think that it's, parked cars are fine there. Our people will be able to get around very easily. Those are pretty wide streets.
Fire truck?
Yeah, they can get down the middle, I mean, it's, as long as they can get through, that's fine, as long as nobody's parked in front of hydrants, that type of thing, so, should be fine.
Mr. Pratt?
The extension on Sandra Court was put into our city engineer spec. So if it,
About the cul-de-sac?
yeah, the cul-de-sac from, you can see where there's a culvert runs underneath their highway, or the road there. From that point on, that was put in spec by, J.T. Blankenship, because I put it in. So if it's not right, we need to go back on them.
It's pretty wide through there.
Yeah,
Looks
it
like
is.
to me.
It is, it's just in that one, and because the shape that it is, and the neighbors from that street were the ones who brought it up to me, so I'm just bringing it up to you.
I suggest you tell the neighbors you want your side shut off, no parking, because then we're gonna make
No,
somebody
actually, they
mad.
live in Sandra Court, in the
Huh?
neighborhood.
Well,
But they say whenever we're coming off from 14th Street, down on Roberta, they're carrying both sides. And then the buses, and, you know, people love to complain,
no.
and we love to listen to them.
Amen.
The next discussion regarding no parking on the south side of Spruce Street from 15 to 16.
I had that put on there, I had a call from a couple of people. It's already no parking up close to 15th Street. I had Darren come out and look at it with me. And on 16th Street. But it would make no parking on the south side except on Sundays, so the church can use it. You can see going down toward, from 16th to 15th, you can see all the way to that stop sign out there. We got a guy that parks a pretty good sized truck out there that you can hardly see around going down through there. And those people all got access behind their houses, but a couple of neighbors have said that. And we were gonna try to move the sign on 16th Street back about another 40 feet. No, it's already no parking for part of it. We was gonna move it 40 feet, and I talked with the mayor about it some, and we thought it might be a good idea to make that whole side from 15th to 16th on the south side, no parking except on Sundays, so the church there could use it like they normally
And
do.
I don't even know that the church there uses it very much anymore because they use the, parking lot of Crawshaw's unless there were a funeral in that one.
Isn't it already no parking on the north side of the street then?
No, I don't know, I don't think. Is it?
I think the north side of Spruce Street.
I
through
thought it
that,
was too.
Yeah.
there's no
churches?
Right there in front of,
So that'd be
St.
no,
Peter's, it's all
St.
the
Peter
parking
Church,
in
yeah.
there.
so that'd be no parking on either side of that street.
We don't want block. You got that, people come, going both directions, come around that stop sign very fast. And you got traffic coming off Walnut coming down through there. I know the traffic coming north on 15th has got to have a hard time seeing down through there for that block.
I drive that every single day, I don't know where I don't ever have a problem with that.
But,
I mean, that truck is, it's there a lot, he has an electrical business. I
If
think,
you
does he
wanna
have
move-
room in the back?
if you wanna move the sign at 16th back, what we figure 40 feet there? It's already no parking on most that distance. If we move it back 40 feet, that'll take care of the problem that I got to call to check on. But, I talked to Will and we thought it might be a good size to make that south side no parking for that block.
Well, I mean, as I have come from the east, traveling down that way, I seem to meet traffic coming the other way, trying to get around, you know, the cars there fairly frequently. So, you know, it's just one of those deals where, is it a major problem? I don't know if it's a major issue or not. Is it a potential issue? To some extent. So, now, Barb, if you say there's somebody that's, you know, running a business there and doesn't have anywhere else to park a truck or
I know,
something.
his business isn't there, but he lives there. I think he has an electrical business of some
CH
sort, and I've
Electrical or
forgotten his
something like
name.
that.
Yeah.
Play,
That's the truck
Yeah.
that people are driving
Yeah,
by.
and I don't know if he has room in the back for his truck. If he does, you know, that's fine, but if he has a business in town, I kind of hate to give him no place to park in front of his house.
Yeah.
Well, that's the truck that some of the people are complaining about not being able to see around. It's close. I guess
People love
similar to our
it.
bucket truck is what it's
Yeah,
similar
it's
to.
like
Shouldn't be on the street anyway
450 or
overnight,
350, something like
but, you know, it's a safety hazard. That's what everyone wants to do. If you move that other sign back 40 feet to the east, it's not gonna affect where he parks that truck anyway. So, you wanna do that, we got a complaint about a guy down there trying to mow his property, and he can't get up to mow it because the people park down there. If we move the sign 40 feet, there's already no parking on each end. But if we move that sign 40 feet, that'll clear where he can mow and do everything too. He owns the duplexes on the corner.
But it won't impact the trucking. The truck's the main problem.
Yeah, I know, that Barb seems to think it should be parked there, that, but if, you know, that's the main problem, that and the mowing. I want to get it in front of the council, I was asked to do that. So it's up there to what everybody thinks about it.
Well, is there a motion to move the sign?
I'll make that motion to move the sign.
What advantage would it be to move the sign if it's not gonna affect the main truck?
Well, it'll help the guy, it'll help the one guy on the corner where he can mow and take care of his property. People park there and he can't even get in to mow.
Mama insists on his over.
All right, well, there is a motion.
I
don't
guess
hear
for
a second.
clarification, is it what part of the street's gonna be no parking and then, and is it gonna be except on Sunday still, or just?
This is on the corner of 16th going east on the south side. We have a no parking sign down so far. My deal was if they don't wanna make that whole street no parking, to move that sign 40 feet to the east.
Additional 40 feet to the east is no
Yeah.
parking.
And just make no parking on that corner. That clears some of it where nobody can park there on that corner because people have a hard time. You can't go straight across that street because you're going into a one-way street.
If you're going north, you're going.
You already can't park within 15 feet of a corner, can you?
We
Well,
already put signs.
Don't drive
on
around
16.
town.
I know that's what I'm saying. It seems to me like you already have an ordinance to take care of the guy on the corner. I mean, 15 feet.
Now,
That's
his
not
property,
right.
Well, we had a motion, but I didn't hear a second, and so
Mark got a question.
I'm presuming that that motion dies due to lack of a second. Ms. Hughes?
Is there any chance we could have Chief look at that and see what he thinks about it? I mean, if this is a hazard, man, I'll have to find a place for this truck, but I, living in that area, I don't see it as a hazard, but I may just be used to it, you know? It may be because it seems okay with me because I live in that historic preservation area, and all of those streets are very narrow.
Well, I think maybe a picture's worth 1,000 words, and so if Chief wants to take a look at it and
Yeah.
maybe take a few photos and bring them back to the next council meeting, we can
I think
better,
that would be helpful.
everybody can better understand the situation at
Thank
that
you.
intersection.
Sounds good.
Next item, discussion regarding parking issues at 601 Walnut Street.
I've had that put on there, Russ. I got contacted by Trudy Thompson, who owns, that resale shop in that building right there across on the corner of Sixth and Walnut. And I see this myself, I do understand part of this. When you park on that side street, on Sixth Street, you almost have to park partially on the sidewalk because the street isn't wide enough. She has sent me several pictures of trucks, unfortunately including one of our city trucks, that is parked partially on the sidewalk and partially on the street. Some of them, I don't know about if the city truck may be down there doing work, I don't know, but some of these, she says, that park there are people that are going into KFC to get lunch and then come out. But if you look at that sidewalk, it is completely destroyed, and it is right where a tire would hit if it was sitting on part of the sidewalk and that. She also says that snowplow destroyed the curb. I don't know, the curb is almost non-existent there, but, she, would like two things. She's requesting that we consider, well, actually three, I guess, that we consider that the city replace her sidewalk because people park on it. And she knows that, she said that she knows that, you know, we would do the work and she would have to pay the concrete cost, but she thinks that we should pay the concrete cost. And she would also like a no parking on sidewalk sign there, and perhaps even a 2-hour parking in that area. I don't know what the 2-hour would do, I can't imagine why anybody would do 2 hours right there anyway. But I can see the no parking on sidewalk, because it does destroy the sidewalk. The apartment's there, but the apartment people park in the back.
One where her,
Yeah, but it's not the apartment people that are parking on the sidewalk.
They park here at night.
Do they? Okay.
Mr.
so I thought
Bratton?
They were down there at night. Go
Is
ahead.
that on the, is that sidewalk in question, is that on the east or the west side?
It is on the,
West
west
side.
side.
West side.
The one right there by Trudy's business.
Okay, I know where that's at.
Mr. Pippin?
I mean, two things. We, like we talked about earlier, her building is right there on the corner. Surely we have the no parking within certain feet from the corner anyway, so we already have an ordinance that controls.
It's
that
not
if
her
it's-
business that's the problem.
Right,
It's
I know,
supposed
but
to
I'm
go
saying
in,
we're,
it's
but
past
it's,
that.
she's talking about the people that in front, that's in front, but she's talking about past her then?
Past the
Okay.
business, but in front of those apartments.
I mean, and I'm surely we have an ordinance that says you can't park on sidewalks
Yes.
already also.
I would think so.
I mean, if it takes a sign, that's probably could be done for fairly cheap, I'm sure.
I mean, the solution to this problem is Ms. Thompson picking up the phone and calling. I mean, the solution to the problem is Trudy calling the police department whenever someone's parked on the sidewalk and they come and issue a parking ticket.
And I would be glad to tell her that.
And I'll be glad to tell her that as well. I mean,
I mean,
we spend money on signage sometimes that, you know, I just, if you did a survey of 100 Murphysboro residents and asked them, you know, how many street signs they read a day, I'd say it would be less than one.
I agree. I agree. And I'm not necessarily advocating that this all be done. I just had phone calls from a constituent that I have to bring to you.
Sure, no, I
And these are
appreciate that.
things that she would like to be addressed, and I will be glad to tell her whatever you would like me to tell her.
I have a question.
I think he just told you.
Is the sidewalk in question on Walnut Street it's on Sixth? Okay. Then it's our business.
Well,
But it's
past
50, yeah, it's 50-50 the deal. I mean, they put the concrete and we put the labor.
They own that
And
whole
we will
block.
have
She
to,
owns the whole building, yeah.
yeah. So,
And, you know, she's not being outrageous about this, I understand her frustration
Yeah.
over it. I don't know how much we can do, I just think that we need to think about people parking on that sidewalk.
I'm gonna go by and look there tomorrow, but it's raining too hard.
the no parking is acceptable.
Well, maybe she could look at that too, you know, and then we could bring this back and, is that even necessary or not? Mayor?
Well, I just feel like the solution to this problem is that we need to have Ms. Thompson, when she sees an issue with parking, if she wishes to call the police department and have them assess the situation, that's the best solution. Because it's probably the same people, probably, generally parking there. And then if we wanna get a price on that, sidewalk there, and I don't
Yeah,
know,
that wouldn't be bad, I mean, we could, you know.
then
maybe
we
she
can
would
debate
need
that
to
as a
have-
secondary issue here.
Yeah.
To decide whether we wanna try to do that on our own, or whether we want to, just tell her to participate in the, typical sidewalk program.
Okay,
If it's $50 or $100 or something, then I don't mind us, next time we got some sidewalk, concrete work we have to do, finishing that out or something, but if it's gonna be
that
a,
form it up a little bit.
Right.
But, you know, that's.
I thought she said she didn't wanna pay any money on it. She didn't wanna pay on it. Why open that box up that we're gonna pay, furnish it?
I'm just gonna call her tomorrow and I'll talk to her about the parking issue.
What about the no parking sign?
And then it might be nice if Darren could figure out how much concrete that might need. And then if that can of worms gets open, I'd be glad to.
You're not gonna repair it for $50.
No, you can't get it, concrete for $100.
well, I think the least we could do for the constituent, just so that we can show that we've made a good faith effort, is just to research and get a price.
Yeah, I think so too. I will tell her that that they're going to do that.
Okay.
I'll tell her this tomorrow.
So we have to put it safe. Any other comment?
All right, that takes us into personnel chaired by Ms. Barbara Hughes. Barb?
Thank you, Mayor. There's no old business actually under this, but we have, Mark Brittingham, our, negotiating, attorney who is going to go over a new contract that I'm in hopes that we can, approve tonight, that is for the wastewater treatment plant. Mr. Brittingham.
This is the first contract between the city and the new bargaining unit, the wastewater treatment plant employees. It basically mirrors the old contract with what are now the two bargaining units that were one bargaining unit before. I guess the most important part is a 4-year contract. The mayor worked very hard with the representative of the labor union to get this agreement. The wage increases are 2.5% per year for the first 2 years and 2.25% for the last 2 years. So 2.5, 2.5, 2.4, 2.4. Starts on May 1, last May 1, so 2019, and runs through April the 30th, 2023. Otherwise, I don't think there are any other major changes in here.
Not big major things. We deleted several things that were not, relevant to them because they referred more to the, street department and the water.
Yeah, we've had to clean up the contract to make it
Yeah, we
suit
have to
the
clean it.
new bargaining unit, but otherwise, the contract pretty much mirrors the contract that existed before. No major changes.
Jervis?
Just one correction, I think you said 2.4 for the last 2 years.
It's
I
2.25.
2.25. 2 and a quarter, is
Right.
what I meant to say.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry.
The first two were 250 and then 240.
Right.
It's that Medicare application, I keep telling you, enrolling that, it's just, the government starts sucking your memory right now.
They do it quick too.
I know, I realize that now.
Mark, it gets worse, by the way.
So it's, I have heard again from the laborers representative, as late as 4 o'clock today, when I sent it back to him and said, no, you still didn't make these changes. And I put them in, and, he agreed to them all, so, my understanding is, I don't know that his bargaining unit has voted it yet. I understand he has their tentative approval.
Yes, I think he has to attend to it. You know, yeah. Yeah.
All right, well, I'd entertain a motion to approve the agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So would you care to handle signatures, Mayor?
However, the bargaining unit deems appropriate.
Well, I can tell you how that is.
All right.
Sign right here.
Mark,
easy.
I want to thank you for all your hard work on this side.
It's not hard work.
Appreciate that.
Hard work, glad to do it. I'll get copies. Yeah, that's just the last page.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, sir. It's taken care of.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Also, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad we have a contract. And we are still working on clerical and fire. We're starting fire. We will meet with them for the first time Thursday. Tomorrow. Wednesday. I just look at my calendar daily and it tells me what to do. I'm sorry. But I will be there tomorrow. I don't know, Mark, have we set another meeting with clerical yet? I know
Now,
that.
the laborers representative told me today that they'll get proposals to us for both the clerical unit and the other,
Public
works
Public
unit,
Works.
Public work.
in the next few days.
Okay, thank you.
That's what he said about in the email at 4 o'clock.
Thank you very much.
Barbara, are we meeting here tomorrow?
Yes. Okay, does anyone have any other questions or any new business for personnel? Any other comment for personnel? Hearing none, I think we can get out of that there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Takes us to the mayor's report. I spoke with Joe Capias today. He's gonna be in Murphysboro on November the 7th. Going to be meeting with some contractors there, I understand. And he's also going to be, apparently that day, either that day or the day before, I can't remember which, he has got a meeting with the insurance company for Rawson's insurance company auto owners. And it is a settlement meeting. They are apparently now willing to make an offer to settle. I don't know that that means that they will, but apparently that is going to be happening here very soon. I also asked him if he would be willing to come to the next council meeting today on the phone, which is the 12th of November. And he said he would do everything he could to be here, just to give everybody a status update on things. Wasn't 100% sure of it, but he said, I think he said 90% sure. So I know that everything is ready to go. Ryan, one of the contractors who's been working with Joe, said that he's been given the green light to start work there on the subdivision work, and that if it hadn't rained so much over last weekend, he probably would have already been started down there. So that's everything I know as of this moment, but I thought it was enough that I ought to share it with the council. Mr. Bratton?
It's my understanding that we still need to have more rock put on that, east side of where it's built up, or riprap or something, to keep the erosion when the water comes up from coming in there and undercutting that and that coming again. I mean, I'm just bringing this up so we keep it in front of us.
Are we talking about where?
The dirt work is not completed there. I think we've been told by at least one engineer and a couple others that weren't on the project that it's gonna, if a river comes up, it'll cut in there and cut that dirt out, and we'll have the same thing happen again. So that's something that we need to,
Well, there's no doubt that that needs to be, more erosion control needs to be done there. I have to assume that any development, whether it be Holiday Inn or another fast food franchise or whatever, would demand that, because they don't want their building and investment shifting underneath them either. So, just something to consider.
did he give you a groundbreaking date?
Well, he said he's just trying to quote-unquote coordinate politicians. And
Okay.
so, I said, good luck with that.
Looks impossible.
And you just,
May 2018.
right? So, in any case, that's what I know on that. I don't have anything else on the mayor's report at this time.
Okay, that is good news.
Could I ask an unrelated question?
Certainly.
The solar company, anything happening with that?
Well, I missed a call from them right shortly after. They're on Australian time, the guy that usually calls me. And so he called me right as the council meeting started. And I hope that it's good news when I call him back, because the $30 million loan, or that they have, application that they had pending, was, there's supposed to be some word on that this week. And they did put out a press release through Solar Alliance this week that said that they had completed an additional design draft of all the solar that's gonna go on the northern end. I know that Ed Cooney was in town and finished up a perfunctory environmental review. That was another last thing that the USDA and the bank had wanted, which we had actually already done, but those things have basically a 6-month shelf life, and so it had to be updated, and so that was done on Thursday of last week. And so that's the update there. And they have formally now renamed the building the Enterprise. So I don't know if that is foreshadowing of William Shatner's arrival or what. But,
Yeah. That's the name of the station.
right. So that's that. I'll go to council member requests to go to Ms. Hughes. Yeah, well, yeah, you'll probably get sued for naming rights. But Ms. Hughes.
I have nothing, thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Curry Winston. Mr. Brown. Mr. Pearson.
I just want to thank Darren for taking care of a problem over on 22nd Street that shouldn't have been a problem to begin with, but it turned into one with a very nice lady that I've known forever. And I also want to tell you that Thelma did not hit me in the eye. I had cataract surgery.
But as soon as it heals, she's going to.
I'm not saying she won't or she hasn't. She didn't, but
I'd like to see that police report on that.
Bill, I do appreciate you being here tonight. I know that you wouldn't have necessarily had to have been, and we weren't sure if we needed extra 8 votes to pass the contract or not, but your dedication to the council and just being here is always appreciated, so thank you. Mr. McComb.
Yeah, Chief, I keep forgetting to tell you that temporary no parking between 20th and 19th down there on Division, that can be taken down now. We got that patch poured in down there, and it should all be where they can park there again. That's all I have.
Clerk Hunsaker?
Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to add quickly, it made me remember when Bill mentioned something. The street department over the last I don't know how long, I can't really put a date on it, but this, Darren, your guys have just been doing an excellent job. The things that, I have, you know, gotten feedback from residents lately have all been positive. There's been several little things, like the patch out on Industrial Park Road. I don't know if our guys did that, or we finally motivated somebody else to do it. But, I drive that a lot going out to Jackson Square and not having to dodge those two rough spots. Just little things like that. And on Gartside, that patch there at 19th and Gartside, really, some good stuff, and those little things matter. So, thank you. Mr. Irvis.
Can you get Carbondale to fix Oakland Street there?
Yeah, I've been driving it, it's a mess.
You gotta order pizza.
Yeah.
What?
Domino's, you gotta order pizza.
They just keep making it worse.
Oh, I noticed that, I thought, man, it's like the Oregon Trail.
They do have a sign now that says it's gonna be like a year project.
Oh, Lord.
I have nothing to Other than that, if you can call your friends.
We'll get over there, see what we got.
Just do it and send them a bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, talk about renewing the rivalry. Mr. Brown.
I just wanna know if anybody else got one of these from Arcade Power where you save 10% solar savings when you enroll in a community solar. Anybody else get one of them?
No. You're the rich one.
They only mailed that for rich people.
Yeah, yeah.
People who have money.
Oh, that's got Bill Pearson's name on it.
Yeah.
That's all I had, thank you.
Ms. Campos?
Nothing today.
Mr. Pittman? All right, we'll go to department head requests. Attorney Blake?
Nothing.
Ms. Ripley? Mr. Evans?
I failed to put a time with our proposed meeting on the 14th. Could we do that at 5:30 perhaps?
5:30?
Is that too early for you, too late? What, Mr. Brazen?
I mean, it breaks the 6 o'clock tradition is all.
Yeah.
You know nobody's
You
gonna
gotta
show
shake it
till
up once in a
6
while.
o'clock.
Ah.
5:45?
Sure. Well, you all decide.
We'll let you know.
All right.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Okay.
Nice try, though.
Yeah.
Do you have a basketball game or something you need to go to?
No.
Okay.
He's expecting it to take a while, and he was gonna give us a head start.
Well, yes, actually, yes.
See.
Set a time limit on that and be done.
Wanted to be done by 10:30 at least.
Chief
I will
Wright.
be.
Received notice from from FEMA that we were not successful on either of the grants that I wrote. One was for a new ladder truck and the other was for replacement of our extrication equipment. We'll renew that. It's gonna be very difficult to get a grant for a community our size for a ladder truck, and so that may be something that the council might wanna put on their radar. It's approaching 30 years old, it's non-compliant. In fact, I've already issued a directive that nobody is to ride in the rear jump seats because they are non-compliant. And we've had some expensive repairs this year on it, so that may be something that we need to think about in the near future. Also received a letter of appreciation from Carbondale Fire Department. We went over last week and assisted them with the fire at the Jaber Estate. We were over there about 7 hours, working with them, both doing exterior and interior operations, and they were very appreciative.
Very good, thank you, Chief.
Yep.
Chief Ellemeyer?
Yeah, we've submitted a grant for down at the range through the NRA, since we have so much going on out there now, you know, joining in with the school. And Carbondale's had their range shut down, so we've had SIU police and Carbondale police reaching out to us to use our range. It got decertified through the state for some issues, but I think they're gonna work on that over time. But we put in a grant for some fencing down there and the new HVAC system, because that thing is pretty bad shape. We had some costly repairs on it this year. And when Voss went down there, we went and looked at it, and we've got some serious problems that whole system's about on its last leg. So we've submitted those things for the grant, and I'll keep you posted on that as it goes and see how that works out.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mills? Mr. Lee?
No.
Mr. Stewart?
No.
Ms. Biley? Ms. Bryant? All right, we have already taken action actually on the wastewater treatment plant contract. And so I am not sure, do we have any, we have no appraisal reports to,
We already agreed
They
to pay
can
it.
go home.
so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Go move.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.